Hello and welcome to this webinar. My name's Courtney and here we're going to be looking at Module 1, Sections 1.4 to 1.8. And the key theme here is attributes of the profession, the characteristics that define a profession. So the first question I have for you is, could you pause this video right now and list the 8 attributes and provide a 1 or 2 sentence description? Please try that. So, here's a mind map or a summary or a flowchart of how these work, and there's already a short video that you should have watched covering this. So now I don't want to take you through the concepts as much as ask you questions just to probe your understanding and get you thinking about it further. And you can see this ties in with Objective 1 of Module 1, describe the nature, and here specifically the attributes of a profession. So we've already talked in detail about the social contract, this implied contract between a profession and society where we serve in the public interest. And now we want to look at the key components. So body of knowledge. My first question to you, take a moment, think about it, see if you can answer it before I bring the answer up. You might need to pause the video as we go through this webinar. Which of the following does not relate to a body of theory and knowledge? Now, they all look good. And one of the key themes here in CPA questions is all the options have to have some level of plausibility. They are not obviously wrong. So continuing professional development is important, but it's not part of the body of theory and knowledge. This is part of the extensive education process and a high degree of autonomy and independence. I hope you got that right. So body of knowledge, theory, construction, systematic research. So we need a range of skills and experience, and think about this: management accountants, financial accountants, auditors, forensic accountants, tax accountants. And what I love when we talk about theory construction, if you think it's a bit complicated, there's lots of ideas about things like what is bookkeeping, how do we account, what's the best way to do management reports at month end. We have all of these scrambled ideas and we slowly pull them together into neat, tidy boxes, and accountants do really good, fast, efficient work like that. Theory includes our conceptual framework, and we look at this in much more detail in financial reporting, but also ideas about how to perform helpful management accounting work. So if you study management accounting, you look at target costing, process redesign, how to make businesses more efficient. There's a huge body of knowledge. And a good question to ask you as you start your accounting career: what was your favorite part of your undergraduate accounting studies? Now, some people say, oh, I hated it. And then I ask them, why would you pursue this as a profession if you don't actually enjoy it? But for me, management accounting, loved it, fell in love with it, wanted to do it, apply it, teach it, all the rest. And that has guided my career for the next 25 years as a result. Other people, they're not really fussed with management accounting. They want to help clients, public practice. Some want to specialize in tax. Each person has their own flavor. Choose the career path that you enjoy the most. So the education process, you go to university, you do your training, your workplace, your 3 years worth of work experience, plus the CPA program, and you come out as a kind of a beginner professional. So then we get to the ideal of service, and we have the well-being of society, pursuit of excellence, community service. We've talked about the social contract a lot. We help, we get rewards in return, and we should hold the public interest in high esteem. So from there, autonomy and independence. You might be wondering why there's a little bicycle. This idea of I can do it myself. The accounting profession should be so good that it should self-regulate, set its own rules and guidance about how to account. Now, sadly, that hasn't always worked well. So here's a quiz question for you. Now, you're being examined on these objectives, and so you need to know them so that you know that you're ready for the exam. And they all look pretty good. So can you identify the one that is not an objective of Module 1? And this is the key. Just one little twist. The accounting profession used to have a lot of self-regulation, but now it's co-regulation. What that means is we work with the government to regulate. So where the accountants only used to set standards, the government may work with them to set them or give them the authority of law. And that is objective 2, the co-regulatory process of the accounting profession. So which of the following is not part of the self-regulatory structure of CPA Australia? Take a moment, maybe pause the video. And here we go. Rules relating to maximum fees to be charged. Now, there is some guidance about setting minimum fees, and you might think, why would we worry about setting low fees? That's good for the customer. Well, it is and it isn't. If your fee is too low to really make a profit or pay your way, like if you charge $20 for something and it costs you $100 in labor to do it, you're actually going to go backwards or lose money. So then the temptation will be to cheat, cut corners, rush it, not do it properly. So we should charge enough to not make us act in an unethical manner. So we talked about this idea of co-regulation coming in place, and there's a short video that we encourage you to watch that explores this in more detail. So which of the following, hopefully you've read that and watched that video and seen the study guide here, relates to audit regulation in Australia is most correct? Now this is a particular type of CPA exam question. Sometimes every single option is accurate, but what is the most accurate? You might think that's weird, but we're going to go through lots and lots of these examples throughout semester. Auditing standards, no legal requirement, APS 110, which is the best answer? And the answer is D. So A is accurate, but D has more information, more detail. In Module 4, I give you an example. So price fixing is when two competitors work together to set a price. Now, that is an example of cartel conduct. That is the big picture. But price fixing is the technical name of that activity. So if you're asked what's the best description, then that's what we choose. Which of the following is not a professional body under the control of the government? What I'm trying to do here is make sure, have you watched these videos carefully? Have you read the study guide carefully? Are you very sure about your detail? It's an open book exam and you can get asked questions on any topic. So the FRC is a government body and it controls the AASB and the AUASB. And you would have seen that in that short video. So it's the APESB. And we can see that in this diagram, which you've seen. So the government controls the FRC, and then they control the AASB, which set accounting standards, and the AUASB, which do the auditing standards. And then APESB does APE standards. And we're going to look in most detail this semester at APS 110, the Code of Ethics. That brings us to the Code of Ethics, and that's our policy of expected behaviour, the key themes, and we look at this in Module 2, but for now, the fundamental principles. Integrity, being honest. Objectivity, being impartial and unbiased. Professional competence, so you have to know your accounting, but also you have to take enough time to do it. Those are two things that have to work together. Acting in a professional way and maintaining confidentiality. So now, what about the idea of ethos and culture? Which one of the following best describes that? And here is an example where all of these words are valid and relevant and useful, but which one is the best? And it's the values, the norms, and the symbols. So accountants, in some ways, are known as wearing suits and ties, often having a calculator and pocket protector. We're sometimes mocked for that, but we are seen as serious, objective rule followers. Lawyers, there's a particular look. A minister of religion has a particular look. Often ministers will wear a clerical collar. So there's different looks. If you're a doctor, you're going to wear a white coat. So we have things that project the image of what we do. And the foundational, I guess, word for CPA Australia in the logo is integrity. We act with honesty, but more than that, we are forthright, we are clear, we are upright, we don't withhold the truth, we are not sneaky. Then professional judgment. Now there's another short video on this, so please, when you get to that section, make sure you watch it. And it refers to, one of the examples is the pilot that lands on the Hudson River and saves everyone's life. Now he had to make decisions so rapidly. And that's this idea of professional judgment. You have to have technical skill, but you have to apply it the right way in the right circumstances quickly and effectively. And if you watch the court case where he's interrogated, people challenge that, but he's able to defend himself. So if you're bored with accounting, switch and watch that movie. It's absolutely amazing. Now, another example of professional judgment, and we're seeing this thing with artificial intelligence. You can get AI to do the work for you. So do we need professional judgment anymore? This podcast by CPA explores this in detail, and it links into one of the questions. I'll show that shortly. In accounting, more specifically, there's a lot of times where we have to make a decision because the standards are not exact. They'll say significantly, more likely than probable. They might say virtually certain, probable, likely. They might say remote, or more likely than not. What does this actually mean? An example I often use is a car crash. Now, sometimes, you do things in a week and things might happen. But if we talk about remote, the average Australian crashes a car once every 7 years. That's remote. That's very different to probable. Probable would mean every time you go out for a drive, there's a more than 50% chance you'll actually go and crash, or likely. So we have to know, is this thing a bad debt? Should this be recognised? Should this be deferred? Are we going to collect? Should I report this like this? All of the time we are using professional judgment to help make decisions and report and record in the right way. So in the study guide, you've got 2 questions you should have already worked through. If not, please do them now. Describe the 4 situations, or any 4, where you may be applying professional judgment in the course of your work. It can even be as like, do I accept this customer? Is your radar going off as someone who's not going to pay, or they're going to be sneaky or demand too much work? And then listen to the AI podcast and have a look at that task. So that's professional judgment. The final item is the governing body. Now, in the next section and webinar, we're going to be looking at the rules and the governing body. So if you do things wrong, CPA Australia can take action against you. They can fine you, you can be penalised, forfeiture of membership, things like that. So they govern and they set the rules about how CPA should behave, and they set the rules for things like you must do the CPA program within this amount of time and get this kind of pass mark to become a fully qualified accountant. So the final part of this section is the idea of the market control view. And we'll explore this in a bit more detail because some people find this tricky to understand. But firstly, which of the following best describes it? And what we have in this view, it is the opposite of the traditional idea of an accounting profession. So the answer is monopoly creation. So the service ideal is the traditional view of accounting, and that is we act in the public service, we do the right things altruistically. Part of the service ideal is high quality. Perfect competition is not really happening. That's where we are not a perfect competition. The monopoly idea is we create a set of certifications that only a few people can have, and that allows us to charge higher prices, generate more power and control, and dominate the market. And the suggestion is we do that for our own selfish reasons, not really to serve the community. An example in the study guide on this, Anderson and HIH Insurance, where the auditors did a terrible, terrible job. So it's very, very hard to say we're acting in the public interest. We have altruism, we have self-regulation, when we saw complete abuse. And areas like this is what has led to co-regulation. Now, in real life, there's probably a bit of both. Some accountants are very monopolistic and greedy and selfish, but others genuinely, every single day, work their best to serve their organisations and their communities. And sometimes inside us, there's a bit of a wrestle. So as you study this section, don't just learn the facts. Think about yourself and how you do work and how you behave ethically. We'll consider that a lot more in Module 2. So that's the summary of the attributes of the profession. I hope that makes sense to you, and those quiz questions helped you practice recalling, remembering, analysing, and interpreting. Thanks.